Welcome, one and all. With the Royal Rumble in the rearview mirror, the road to WrestleMania is off to a bumpy start. Keep your eyes open for signs of optimism, though, and we'll convince ourselves it's an auspicious occasion. I'm the Dispatcher, and this is the 47th episode of 7 Sunday Morning Hot Takes. Hot take number 1. There were two huge notable absences from the Women's Royal Rumble, and I'm surprised there hasn't been more chatter about either of them, but I think that's due to a lack of available information. The first is Bianca Belair, chosen by many as a favorite to win the Rumble. Reminds me of Jade last year. We sincerely hope her injury issues are behind her, and that she returns as soon as possible and doesn't also miss out on the Elimination Chamber. The other absence was AJ Lee, but that surprised me less. I'm not really expecting her to make a lot of appearances until WrestleMania. Let me ask you this. Is a tag match with AJ Lee and Maxine versus Becky and Natalya a WrestleMania-worthy match? I say absolutely not. If Becky isn't fighting AJ Lee at WrestleMania for the Intercontinental, then you have to find better opponents for Becky than Maxine or Natalya. She has way too much talent to waste like that. Or you could just feed that no-good, corrupt, pretend referee Jessica Carr to her in a sanctioned match and let Becky destroy her. That would be satisfying, and she'd be getting what she deserved. What I'm saying is, there would be justice. Eventually, there will be justice. There has to be. We're not just going to forget about Jessica Corruption Scandalgate. There's way too many lawyers involved. Lawyers don't forget. The legal process just moves really slowly sometimes because you have to uncover all the facts. But sooner or later, and I'm thinking WrestleMania, a completely exonerated and increasingly glorious Becky Lynch will at long last find her redemption. And maybe AJ Lee will be there too. Who knows? Hot take number 2. Okay, here's a word quibble. I think the majority of matches don't need to be so long. It's a question of quality or quantity, I suppose, and normally I would take the side of quality, but perhaps it's gone too far. I wouldn't mind seeing more matches, specifically shorter matches, sprinkled between the more epic matches. Not every match needs to be 25 to 30 minutes. If a televised match is interrupted twice by a commercial break, that match is too long. It's gotten to the point where I hardly pay attention to some matches until I see each wrestler do their finishing move once, or there's a ref bump, or someone runs down to the ring. Everything before that is just athletic exhibition, and I've been trained by the product now to settle in for a long match with an overbooked finish. I think the best of both worlds is to mix it up. Shorter matches means more matches, more storylines, more names on the card, and more results. But save the longer bouts for evenly matched opponents in any division, and for occasions when the stakes are high and titles or careers are on the line. Hot take number 3. If the Royal Rumble in Riyadh was a test run for Mania next year, well, they really need to go back to the drawing board. They have huge challenges ahead. Michael Cole mentioned the Saudi tendency for being notoriously late, but this isn't a rock concert or a baseball game. This is live theater, and you don't show up after the performance has started. The lighting and visual presentation was absolutely atrocious. I think it actually triggered some trauma in me that harkens back to the Thunderdome era. It was a constant distraction throughout the entire show, and whoever came up with the idea of those lights on all the chairs, creating an optical illusion of empty seats, should have to go and live on an empty island for the rest of their lives, surrounded by lights. They should never be given any responsibility ever again. Simply put, the novelty of wrestling in Saudi has worn off, and it shows. The widespread indifference towards the women's match and the muted reactions for both AJ Styles and Sami made for a somber home viewing, an overwhelming sense that a unique and treasured property was being taken for granted and not given the proper reverence it deserves. For WrestleMania, it's an ominous sign, but they have more than 12 months to figure this out, so there's time. The real problem might be that if it's the same stubborn people making more stubborn decisions, don't expect better results. Hot take number 4. Brie Bella made her return at the Royal Rumble to a huge pop from the Riyadh audience, one of the loudest pops of the night, and one of the only moments in the women's match where the crowd seemed into it. And that's just one more example of how the Riyadh audience let me down that night. Let's be clear about the Bellas, because this is actually important. I will grant that Brie is by far the more charismatic and likable of the Bella twins, but that's setting the bar at ground zero. I think her marriage to Bryan Danielson heavily affects my bias. By nearly all accounts, Bryan Danielson is highly regarded and well respected, so being married to someone like that is one hell of an endorsement. But that's as far as the grace extends, and you don't get to appropriate his yes chants any more than the Big Show can have them. And the babyface grace certainly doesn't extend to your sibling, Nikki, the dipstick of the women's division. But again, let's be clear, because it is important. The Bella twins may be legends, but they are in no way pioneers nor trailblazers who helped build what is today's women's wrestling division. That's absolute junk, and it's ass backwards. The Bella Twins represent the Divas era, which was nearly the death of women's wrestling. It was Charlotte Flair, Becky Lynch, Sasha Banks, Bayley, Naomi, and Natalya who resurrected it and brought about the women's revolution. Trish Stratus, Lita, and Mickie James can be credited with taking the art seriously and representing the craft well at a bad time. But the Bella Twins represent the opposite side of that story, and any attempt to portray them as innovative or influential is deliberately misleading and revisionist crap. And it's an insult to the true pioneers of women's tag team wrestling, the Jumping Bomb Angels. Please don't cheer for the Bella Twins. They eliminated Bayley and Lyra, both of them proper babyfaces who are both vastly superior and have given, and still can give, way more than the Bella Twins could ever hope to offer. Hot take number 5. Wow, I'm so grumpy. And who's here to cheer me up? Yet another mystery man stomping his way into the Vision storyline, except this one isn't helping. This one interfered and attacked Braun Breaker, causing him to get easily tossed out and eliminated by Obafemi. So who is the masked intruder this time? I'll be honest, I really don't care, but I'll give you a list of prime suspects in case anybody out there does. The first name that came to mind, just because he kind of moves like him, was Pat McAfee. That's utterly stupid, but I had to throw it out there. Grayson Waller has been suggested, but I don't think he has the credibility to pull off such a bold move. Theory being taken seriously again is one thing. Accepting Waller as someone who's also suddenly focused and determined is a big ask. So I don't think it's Waller. It did kind of look like the Dipstick, and he would have a clear motive, usurping the leadership of the Vision, and it clears Adam Pearce of knowledge because the Dipstick was already scheduled to be in Saudi. I also think Adam Pearce is a key suspect, because why wouldn't he want to get back at Braun Breaker, and he could easily arrange an alibi. Chris Jericho makes no sense, and he has the best alibi of all. He's not involved in any way with any of this. And my last suspect is Seth Rollins, but that also makes no sense, and I'm surprised Heyman would jump to that conclusion so quickly. Why would Seth need a disguise? That part would need explaining. Ultimately, since this is just deja vu all over again, I don't really care who it is, and I'm way less intrigued than I was the first time when it was Theory. Peekaboo is a game that gets old real fast. We've already had a Masked Man, 2 El Grandes, a Rio, and a Bravo, and I guess I just don't feel like playing another guessing game already. Like, just tell me who it is, okay? Until then, it's just some guy who won't show his face and keeps running away. Not exactly awe-inspiring. Hot take number 6. So next week, there's a triple threat qualifier for the Elimination Chamber featuring Sami Zayn, Cody, and Jacob Fatu, but after winning the Fatal 4-Way in Montreal and getting his championship match in Saudi, I feel like Sami's already had his moment and his opportunity. And yet, I'm kind of stumped picking a winner between Fatu and Cody. Sami versus Cody versus Jacob Fatu on paper is a dream match, and I have no idea how it's going to turn out, so I'm fully intrigued. Randy Orton has already qualified for the Chamber match, and on the ladies' side, despite Chelsea Green being more popular and Lash Legend looking more dominant, Tiffany Stratton goes through. Next week's SmackDown has a qualifying match scheduled between Julia, Alexa Bliss, and Zelina Vega. I can tell you right now, it's not going to be Zelina. My pick would be Julia, who still looked pretty good with Kiana James in a losing effort to Io and Rhea for the tag titles, but Alexa Bliss is still a big draw, so that's a strong possibility. It's great that the women's tag division is so stacked right now, but the flip side is that it's left all the women's titles without any competition. Julia, Becky, Jade, and Stephanie all seem to be lacking dangerous challengers that would pose a dire threat. You know, it would have been really cool, an Elimination Chamber match with all the women's tag teams. That would have been clever and fresh. Hot take number 7. There was a couple of really strange segments on SmackDown Friday night. The first was the one with Johnny Gargano laying flat and not saying a word. They need to reinvent poor Johnny, because without Tommaso Ciampa, it seems really unfair to have him still involved in the tag team scene. Then a later segment also revolved around someone who didn't say a word, but instead looked shattered and broken, while others talked around them and about them without actually paying any real attention to them. Sami's on-screen performance Friday night consisted of him looking glum, while several people told him not to give up, and Rey Fenix even going so far as to tell him that Sami's ambition gives hope to everyone that anything is possible. I know Rey Fenix meant well, but I'm not sure that's what Sami needed to hear. And then Trick Williams' lemon pepper stepped all over Sami's business, and Sami just stood there, eyes unfocused, listening but not reacting, looking like a ghost and nothing like the irrepressible, high-energy Sami that we're all endeared to. But the real missed opportunity for Sami Zayn, if you can believe it, was 3 years ago at the Elimination Chamber in Montreal. Since then, it feels like they've been trying to catch lightning in a bottle again, but it just isn't there. After the Royal Rumble that year, when Sami hit Roman in the back with the chair to elicit the loudest and most passionate pop of the modern era, the organic momentum for Sami Zayn was at its pinnacle. Sami's work with the Bloodline in 2022 made him the most popular and compelling wrestler in the company, and there was a story that was being told that seemed important, that seemed to eclipse the normal level of a wrestling feud. For myself personally, I experienced so much anxiety and stress leading up to that match in Montreal and was fully invested in it the same way I experienced the Toronto Raptors winning the NBA championships in 2019 or the Toronto Blue Jays playoff runs of 2025 and 2015. The only sporting moment for me that compares to Sami hitting Roman with a chair was Jose Batista's home run in that crazy 7th inning against Texas. I'll put links in the description to both moments, plus Kawhi Leonard's buzzer beater, and you can compare the pops. They are all truly epic, magical moments that deserve their place in the history books of all-time great audience reactions. Thanks for being here. With any luck, we'll see you again next week. I'm the Dispatcher. You're on the top turnbuckle, and every day is a sunset flip.